Hi everyone, it's Jan from Jan Plans Things and welcome to my Plan With Me video for this week. So this week's a little bit different in that I have the week off from work because it's the bunny day break, Easter break. So I have a lot less tasks to do than normal, and that means that I can have a little bit more fun with my weekly. So I thought I would revisit a spread that I had done earlier, I think over a year now, and it was before I had actually started doing videos, so it's good, I think, to revisit something so you guys can actually see a few of the different techniques that I use to make the spread. So what I am doing this time around is a sunflower spread, and it features the two kitties, both Humphrey and Hermione, sitting within the sunflowers because I did love having the cat sitting there last week, but I only drew one of them, but all about equality, so I'm having both of them in this time. I have pre-sketched all of the pencil work before I started the video, mainly because I was kind of just doing it while I had a little bit of downtime this week, so apologies that I didn't film that part in advance. At the very beginning of the video you would have seen me use the Pentel Pocket Brush Pen because I find that's like the way I draw cats nowadays. I use that first because I love the feathery nature of it, but I'm actually going to go over it again with the black lines because with the thicker Sakura Micron, because I'm finding that with the sunflowers I wanted everything to look a little bit stronger. So at the moment what I'm doing is I'm outlining the sunflowers with the 05 Sakura Micron. I had done the centers of the sunflowers with a 01, and I basically just drew like little like elongated upside down U's around the edges of the sunflower, and then just a couple of dots in the center to create that center. It's a very prominent flower compared to others, so it is good to get a little bit of detailing, which is why I kind of changed my technique to draw this flower, also because it's just so large with empty spaces. So I do things like curl the petals over as well as add a few more details so that it's not just like big expanses of empty petals on there. So I'll be going back and adding details with thinner pen after I go through everything with the 0.5 first, so I want everything to be quite bold. This is very different to the types of watercolor paintings I had been doing previously, which is using the watercolor itself to create the outline. This is very, very dependent on the line work. If it was up to you, you probably could do it without painting at all if you make the line work detailed enough, and I feel like that's a very, very popular option in a lot of bullet journal designs. So if you want to do it that way, that's fine as well. For the details, I'm using the 005 Sakura Micron. It's the thinnest one I have at the moment. There is a 003 as well, but this one is just lovely and fine. I think it is really, really good for drawing these little details like this. So I'm just going through and just dashing in. Try not to join all the lines together. As I've mentioned in the past, that when you're doing details like this, your brain kind of fills in everything. If you draw every single line, it's more apparent what's missing. So if you kind of like leave little gaps, your brain fills in that space and it makes the illustration a little bit more rich. I am adding little circles and stars around the sunflowers because I kind of love that little splattered look. Instead of actually doing paint splatters, I'm doing like little decorations around it. I feel like it really adds a little bit of liveliness to the illustration. What I'm doing now is I'm going over the edges, this time with the 08, and you'll notice that I'm only kind of, if you imagine like the paint bucket tool in Photoshop or Microsoft Paint, I heard they discontinued that, but that's another thing. And if I had just hit the paint bucket on the blank part, I'm only drawing the 08 around the part where the paint bucket would hit. So I'm not doing the inner lines, so they stay slightly thinner to give it hierarchy. These thicker lines around the edges just make it a little bit more bold, and you can see how much that helps to make the flowers look like they're popping off the page. So I really, really like using this technique, especially when I'm doing florals. I had done something similar when I did the Sakura 2 weeks back, but I find it a lot more apparent here because I guess there's a lot more flowers. In the top left hand corner, I'm going to do a little monthly calendar because I'm kind of having to track all the leaf applications and things like that during this week, and it's just good to see everything, especially because there's so many public holidays at the end of this month for us Australians. And now I'm just using the Sakura Jelly Roll 08. I'm using this week my trusty Daniel Smith mixing palette, mainly because I wanted to use the Quinacridone Gold as my main sunflower color. It's my favorite yellow, and it's discontinued. So I've got like 2 tubes that I kind of cling onto, and I've been just using those over and over again. I'm basically just using a base of the Quinacridone Gold and diluting it first to get the wash, and then just adding more concentrated versions of the color closer to the center of the flower where it's more shadowed. Apologies, you can probably hear Humphrey meowing in the background because I've had to ask him to leave the room while I at least record this because he's been super clingy all day today. It's actually been a bit of a disaster. Probably a funny story was that I had applied to put Hermione on my property's council registration because they register all the cats just in case they leave, and that's when I discovered that if I decided to ever get a 3rd cat, I would actually have to apply for a permit because I would be officially a crazy cat lady. So 2 cats for me for now, but I'm very, very happy with my 2 little buddies. But journaling is absolutely chaos at the moment. So what I am doing at the moment is I'm using the Quinacridone Gold, slightly diluted, and just doing a very simple wash at the beginning. Because the detail is already a lot in the line work, you don't have to worry about shading and perfect watercolor shading so much when you're doing this type of painting, because the line work kind of covers it up a little bit. I'm going to show you a little trick later on as well, because I'm building almost everything up with one color. Sometimes you reach saturation a lot earlier, so I'm just mixing a little bit of the French red in there to get a little bit darker, but I'm going to be using a little bit of something else as well just to get that extra contrast. It's especially difficult when you're really only using one color. What you saw me just do there was I grabbed a little bit of a napkin and I just dabbed off any excess paint, because I found that as I was adding more and more paint to the center of the flowers to try and build the depth, sometimes it was getting that pull and ripple that you get when you're using a thinner piece of paper. So I ended up just washing that off. You saw me then mixing the green a little bit. I added just a little bit too much gold. It looked a little bit like dying leaves instead of fresh leaves. So I've just added a little bit more of the phthalo green just to make everything just a little bit brighter. I've always found that I had difficulty painting the center of sunflowers because they're so dark. I mean, it's very different if you were sketching it out with pencil and you can kind of slowly build up that detail and have a little bit of light touch the top of the flowers. I guess you could kind of cheat by doing that by, dotting in a little bit of the white pen. But I'm finding that when you want to do watercolors like this, one of the benefits is you did all the hard work during the line work part at the beginning. You don't want to be doubling up your work anyway. So I find I end up just doing like a very simple brown wash in the center. Now, obviously I can't resist, so in between my golden sunflowers I have sparkly golden stars using my Finetec Coliro palette again. I've also drawn a couple of little circles. I want to contrast that by having a little bit of silver on it as well. I find that if you're not painting really large areas using the Coliro paints, you don't get that large amount of shimmer. But I think in the end that's kind of okay, because when you're flicking through that page it kind of just subtly catches the light, and I really, really love that. The thing is the Coliro paints are quite good so that they're quite opaque, so I'll have to go back over the stars around the edges just to get that really bold black line around it, because the gold kind of goes over it and makes it disappear. So I'm just using a neutral tint at the moment to paint the grey for my cats. I do love how if you do apply colour on really fast on the LT, it ends up really nice and flat and uniform. You kind of see how the cats kind of just look like very almost computer coloured and how flat the grey was. but I am going back and just adding a few little shadows as well, and obviously painting the little raccoon tails. I've got Hermione sitting at the top, even though she looks fatter than Humphrey at the bottom, which isn't true because she has a lot of exercise running around and teasing her little brother non-stop. I've also got, you can kind of see little strings everywhere because I've drawn Humphrey's favorite bumblebee toy. I didn't kind of want to have too many of them free because I didn't want you guys to think that they were eating bees or anything like that. These are definitely toy bees hanging around the little sunflowers. So what I'm doing now is I'm just using the neutral tint and basically just shading everything, adding a little bit of shadow to the bottom of the flowers and just building up the depth around the cats as well. This is when Humphrey started playing interference. I mean, he says hi to everyone. He's very, very cute. I ended up cutting parts of that out because he was in there for like 40 minutes. So imagine 40 minutes later. Then I got coloured watercolour pencils. So I guess one of the benefits of having your cat sit on your journal for 40 minutes is that everything is dry afterwards and you can very easily apply coloured pencil onto your drawing so that it is a little bit brighter and it's easier to build up the depth, especially if you're only using one colour like I was to paint the flowers. Yeah, so that was like, the thing is when you're using pencils, you have to make sure you seal it afterwards because it does become, it can transfer if you press too hard on the next page. There is something that I want to bring up. I did reach a big milestone this week. I hit 100,000 followers on my Instagram, which I can't even comprehend. And to celebrate, I'm going to be giving away 108 Tombow dual tip brush pens with Bunbogu Australia and Sleepy Tofu. I will be announcing that giveaway on my Instagram. It's going to be open until the 5th of May 2019. So if you can just go to my Instagram probably tomorrow because I'm posting this video a little bit before the post for the competition comes up, just giving you guys a heads up, and then you can enter to win. It's over 300 USD in value, that box, and I'm super duper excited to be able to offer that prize for you guys as a big thank you for all the support that you've given me over the past 18 months. So thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you guys next time. Bye!